that area. You can see how bad the situation is on the ground, and probably in the last 45 years nobody would have seen the water reach the Red Fort. But this also speaks about how the river Yamuna has reached almost the whole of Delhi and its inner parts. When it reaches the central part of Delhi, something like the Red Fort, it actually talks about why the situation has become really bad in the city, as well as what we call as the national capital, where we can see some people trying to make their way through that particular area as well, where these are supposed to be the north walls of the Red Fort, where we find the water inundating large areas and the roads next to it, and we capture those visuals for you right away. Meanwhile, let us also take a look at certain other areas in the city. The swollen Yamuna has covered roads, offices and homes in many areas as well. Schools have been closed and work from home enforced in many offices because of the unprecedented situation. Well, we can see the kind of the level of water that we are seeing at the river. It has burst its banks. It has reclaimed most of the flood plains as well, and this is the kind of flow one sees today when it comes to the Yamuna, and this is the visuals that capture the complete effect of the Yamuna flowing over the danger mark. Now, the water level of the Yamuna at the Old Bridge Railway Bridge is constantly being monitored as we speak, because this is the kind of flow that we see in that area alone, and therefore the authorities are keeping a constant watch on that bridge and the level at which the Yamuna river is flowing in that area. Meanwhile, water levels have also risen following incessant rains in the catchment areas and the release of water from the Hatnikund barrage in Haryana. It is being said that the water released from the Hatnikund barrage, it takes almost 72 hours to flow towards Delhi, and the upper reaches where the barrage has been located, it is being said that there is heavy rains in those areas, because of which the barrage had to be opened and you have the water moving downstream, that is towards the Delhi area. These are the visuals that in fact show the kind of flow of water in the Yamuna, and as we in fact bring you these visuals from that area, this is how the things are in fact moving. Meanwhile, traffic diversions have been made in different areas of the city due to waterlogging and flooding. Commuters are having a harrowing time navigating through these traffic jams. These are visuals from NH24 near Sarai Kale Khan T Junction, and you can actually see the kind of a situation that we can see from the traffic jam. People trying to make their way through, two-wheelers trying to jump over the dividers and trying to make through the road where possibly there is more flow of traffic, and this is what the traffic looked like early in the morning in Delhi. People trying to navigate through the NCR region were met with this kind of traffic in many places. Slow-moving traffic, snail pace traffic, commuters in fact breaking lines to jump onto a road where probably they think there is a traffic, and you can see two-wheelers using the what we call as the sidewalks, or which was meant for the pedestrians as well, being used for moving ahead. So this is only because of the flooding in many areas and the kind of traffic jams we see in certain areas as well. It became quite bad in the morning for a lot of people trying to negotiate through this Delhi traffic. Commuters are said to have had a harrowing time navigating through the traffic jams. These are the visuals from NH24 near Sarai Kale Khan T Junction, and we can see vehicles stuck and slow-moving traffic. Even the pedestrian path completely taken over by two-wheelers. And here the two-wheelers in fact sum it up. They're trying to jump over the divider to ensure they move onto a lane where traffic is still moving. Moving on, the areas around ITO and the Supreme Court have been flooded as well, impacting the commute to central Delhi. Well, this is what you see, a water world at the ITO area and the Supreme Court area, where the water has halved the possible use of the road, or more than halved the possible use of road. Two-wheeler riders and commuters were finding it difficult to negotiate through the flood and reach their destinations. In some places, the flood is said to have been in knee-deep water, and in certain areas, the only option was to move through the central areas of that road, especially those which are very close to the dividers, because it is a little more elevated. As most of you know, from the divider, it slopes towards the side so the water can flow into the drain. But then you can see the way people had to move through this traffic and also negotiate their way through these floods and move towards certain areas. So this is the kind of a situation that people in Delhi were saying. Either you got stuck on a road that had issues with regards to the traffic creating jams over there, or you were in fact stuck at areas such as this where you had to negotiate the flooded road and keep an eye for it. Need deep water in many places, waist deep water in certain areas as well, and quite a risk being taken by those who were traveling in these areas when they try to move through those water-filled roads. The waterlogging has become an acute problem. Another visual, in fact, that shows you getting stuck straight away in the traffic underneath a flyover. And here also you can see how the water has accumulated at the sides, and it was difficult for the commuters to move on. Meanwhile, the NDRF has deployed 16 teams across 6 districts of the capital to evacuate residents. Boats have been also brought in to rescue people. And these are visuals of the NDRF personnel who are involved in it. They are trying to in fact ensure that they can get to residents who are stuck and to get them out of their homes as well, and to bring them to safety. There you can see the NDRF with their inflatable boats reaching out to areas where there is waist deep water. People are asking for help from the NDRF as well. You can see an entire lane has been completely flooded. This is the scene of urban flooding that we are looking at, and it's kind of towards the waist deep as we speak in these areas. So a very, very difficult situation to negotiate with, mostly on the banks of the river Yamuna. Especially there are hutments and settlements there. This is the kind of situation that we see. In certain areas it is of course above the head and quite dangerous in fact when it comes to these areas.
देखिए, ये जो नया फ्लड सिचुएशन डेवलप हुआ है उसमें हमारी 12 टीमें एनडीआरएफ की तैनात हैं। इसके अलावा एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन और एजेंसीज भी साथ काम कर रहे हैं। हमारी रिजर्व टीमें भी मौजूद हैं। अगर ऐसी स्थिति होगी तो उनको भी तैनात किया जाएगा। इवैक्यूएशन का काम जारी है। कल रात से ये कार्रवाई की जा रही है। तकरीबन 2500 लोगों को इवैक्यूएट किया गया है अलग अलग इलाकों से, और अब भी ये कार्रवाई जारी है।
So why is Delhi in fact witnessing such floods? Is this a natural or man-made disaster? To discuss more about it, in the studios we have Nivriti Mohan from News9, who has been constantly looking at the situation on the ground, and we are also joined in by guests on Zoom. We have R.S. Tyagi, former member for Delhi Jal Board, who's also joining us, as well as Divan Singh, environment activist, who also joins us on Zoom. Let me come to first to Nivriti Mohan. Nivriti, you have been following this flooding for quite some time. And what is the reason? What is the simple reason? Many people say encroachment of the floodplains. Many of them talk about unauthorized colonies. Many talk about how the maps of the city has changed. I mean, there is permission given by the government to go and directly construct in floodplains. So when the river is taking back its land which it used to flow in, and that is why you actually see this. But what is the actual reason now? After 43 years, you're seeing a situation like this.
Actually, it is all of these combined.
Okay.
Right now, you're showing visuals of some colony which was completely inundated, and I don't think people are living there right now. But because I feel that in most of the areas which are inundated, people have been evacuated also. But this colony which you were seeing on screen, I'm not sure, but it is possible that this is an unauthorized colony. And many of these colonies have been authorized now. maybe vote bank politics might be one of the reasons, but there still are many colonies which are still unauthorized and they do not have any drainage system, any sewer system. So when water gets collected in these colonies, where does it go? Because you don't have sewer system, it gets collected in those colonies only, and there is no way for that water to come out because there is no sewer system. So this is one of the reasons. And the other reasons is, as I was talking to Mr. Tyagi also a few minutes back, he was telling me that there should be a master plan which should come every 20 years. But right now the drainage system of Delhi is very old, 1950s का drainage system अभी तक चल रहा है. And then a master plan that came in 1978, and after that till now there is no master plan that has come up. तो कायदे से 1978 के बाद 1998 में आ जाना चाहिए था, but it hasn't come. So you are working on a master plan that was
very old.
Yeah, very old, and it came in 1978. तो अभी तो उसके बाद कितनी आबादी आपकी बढ़ गई है, कितनी कॉलोनीज बढ़ गई हैं, कितनी अनऑथराइज्ड कॉलोनीज बढ़ गई हैं. देयर इज़ नो रिस्ट्रिक्शंस ऑन देम. यू आर नॉट स्टॉपिंग देम फ्रॉम बिल्डिंग हाउसेज unauthorizedly, but you are also not building drainage system. कि भाई अगर ऐसी कभी सिचुएशन आ जाती है तो आप उस सिचुएशन में पानी को ड्रेन आउट कैसे करेंगे. और अभी की सिचुएशन तो बहुत ही एक्सट्रीम है. जैसे कि डेटा जो मेरे पास है, 1963 से फ्लड मॉनिटरिंग शुरू हुई यमुना की. It started in 1963 and in 1978 it was the highest level before this level, and now this is the highest level at which Yamuna is right now. So ऐसी सिचुएशन को तो आपने हैंडल करने के लिए कुछ किया ही नहीं है, आप बनाते चले गए हो. और एक जो ड्रेनेज सिस्टम बनता है, जो ड्रेन्स होती हैं, नेचुरल ड्रेन्स होती हैं, कुछ नेचुरल ड्रेन्स हैं जिनमें पानी जाता है, स्टॉर्म वाटर ड्रेन्स, और कुछ ड्रेन्स ऐसी हैं जो नेचुरल नहीं हैं, जो बनाई गई हैं. बट उसके बावजूद भी उन ड्रेन्स पर भी एनक्रोचमेंट्स हैं. ये भी मुझे अभी मिस्टर त्यागी से बात करते हुए पता चला कि जो बाउंड्री वॉल्स हैं ड्रेन्स की, उनके ऊपर भी लोगों ने अपने घरों की दीवारें बना दी.
अच्छा.
तो अगर ऐसा
पिलर होता है, आई मीन घर की अगर उसको खड़ा करना है तो पिलर होता है, वो पिलर ड्रेन में होता है. तो
हाँ, द बाउंड्री वॉल इज द पिलर फॉर देम.
ओके.
सो घर की दीवार उस बाउंड्री वॉल के ऊपर है.
अच्छा.
So if you want to clean or if you want to do some pre-monsoon preparations, how do you do that? Because it is already encroached. The drains
will become very difficult.
It will become difficult because all the drains, they are encroached. The Yamuna floodplains are encroached. You have built unauthorized colonies onto the Yamuna floodplains. Instead of stopping them from building further, you are authorizing those colonies, and you are not building sewage system and sewer system or storm water drainage system in those colonies. So these are the reasons that Delhi and cities like Delhi, they face this kind of flooding. And one more reason that is there, Delhi had around 1200 lakes.
That was kind of a sponge. It was like kind of a sponge that used to take the excess water then.
Yeah. So water got absorbed, the lakes took water, groundwater got recharged through the lakes, but that is not happening now. Neither the groundwater is getting recharged, because lakes which were 1200 earlier, they are now only around 600 lakes are there now.
Okay,
so half,
50% of the lakes have disappeared.
It has disappeared. I think Mr. Diwan he
will
can
be able
elaborate
to,
more on that, because
well,
he is working on that.
Before we go to Mr. Tyagi and Mr. Diwan, I'll just listen to what we have the Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal speaking on the floods. Let's listen into that.
पानी का लेवल जब तक यमुना का कम नहीं होगा, वो सारा यमुना का बाढ़ आने की वजह से हमारे पंप रूम्स में, मशीनों में, जो वाटर ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट जो हैं हमारे 3, चंद्रावल, ओखला और वजीराबाद, ये तीनों एकदम यमुना के किनारे पे हैं. वहाँ पानी एंटर कर गया, वहाँ आप चला नहीं सकते, चलाएंगे तो करंट आ जाएगा. तो जब तक पानी का लेवल कम नहीं होगा, पानी का लेवल कम होने के बाद भी 24 घंटे लगेंगे मशीनों को सुखाने में, तब चालू हो पाएगा.
Well, now let us in fact speak to R.S. Tyagi, a former member of Delhi Jal Board. He is also joining us on Zoom. Mr. Tyagi, the question that I have for you is very simple. When it comes to drains, any city, when it comes to drains, you have the natural drains. And in Delhi, there are supposed to be, my small research says, 201 natural drains were there. And then you have remodeled drains that are supposed to, act as its tertiary drains and then secondary drains. But all these drains over the years have disappeared, and therefore you have encroachment on these drains, and clogging is happening in many places. In some places, more than encroachment, it is dumping of garbage. What is your assessment as of now? What is destroying the drains? Are there still any natural drains remaining when it comes to Delhi, or has it been completely encroached?
It is a very good question. That we have more than 200 natural drains which are being maintained by flood control. But the root cause is that there is a multiplicity authority for maintaining these all drains. The smaller drains are being maintained by Municipal Corporation of Delhi, and all the drains which are on the roadside of 60 foot and wide, they are being maintained by PWD. And the outfall of the drains and the drains in the rural areas are being maintained by the flood control. So there is a mismatch in maintenance of these drains, number one. Number two, she is rightly saying that all the drains are encroached upon. You take the example of Yamuna. Yamuna is the big drain. That is a natural drain for taking all the floods. So this is encroached because the area has been squeezed by the encroachers, right from Wajirabad, right from Buradi, and you go to the Jaipur. These all been encroached, despite of the fact that only Honorable Supreme Court has given the verdict that all the encroachment within the bed of the drain up to 300 meter on either side should be removed, but they are still growing up. So they have reduced the area of flow, and when you reduce the area of flow, the quantum and the height of the flow will be increasing. That is a simple physical formula. So this is the main reason. The second reason is the encroachment in the bed of the smaller drains, middle drains. They have been encroached. So there is a very poor maintenance of these drains. If these drains would have been cleaned, so there is would have been such situation which you are showing on the screen. The third one is the lack of political will. So these are some reasons, that political will, the administrative reason, the institutional reason, the technical reasons also. Because in Delhi, if you are promoting the rainwater harvesting, this should have been taken up at the community level, at the large scale level. The rooftop rainwater harvesting system will not survive the purpose. This will not remove the flooding situation. It should have been on the district park. You should have taken the rainwater harvesting on the bigger drains. You can dig the well in the bigger drains, and all the rainwater can be seeped to the ground. And of course, there are more than 100 water bodies. It should have been cleaned, and it should have been encroachment free. Most of the water could have been stored in those water bodies. So there are many reasons for this situation. However, no town is prepared for such a very exceptional situation, because all the drains are designed only for 50 years flood or so 25 years flood. So this is the exceptional situation which has been increased, which has been aggravated rather in this situation which I have already explained to you. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Tyagi, also one thing that I understand is you're saying that we are not ready, or rather prepared for the kind of development that Delhi has seen over the last almost 50 years. And you're saying the drains have not kept up to the development that Delhi is having.
That's right. Because the sewage master plan was prepared, this drainage master plan was prepared in 74, it was implemented in 1978 after the floods of 1978. But thereafter, IIT Delhi took over the drainage master plan. They, I think, spent more than 3 years in preparing the drainage master plan. It was deliberated at a length at the government level, Delhi government level, and it was kept in the shelf. Rather, it should have been implemented up to date. if it should have been implemented, तो ये इतनी सिचुएशन होती नहीं आज इतनी जितनी आज खराब दिखाई दे रही है आज.
So, Mr. Tyagi is saying that if we had a proper system, we could have avoided this. We could have avoided this kind of flooding in Delhi.
No, we could not avoid it, but it should be not of that scale what you are showing.
Okay. It shouldn't have been at this scale, basically.
Yeah, that is at the large scale because of the many reasons. There are multiple reasons.
So we have only aggravated the existing situation by being bad with our civic works. That is what we are saying. Let me in fact get Divan Singh also, who is an environmental activist as well. Mr. Singh, the question that I have for you is that I had Nivriti saying that a lot of lakes have disappeared. Almost 50% of the lakes in the city have disappeared completely. Now, why is it that when we speak about a lot of metro cities in this country, the lakes which are said to be the natural absorbers of excess water, the sponge that keeps every city's natural groundwater system alive, why is it disappearing? What are the reasons for these lakes to disappear? Many of course point out to real estate and development, but what is the exact reason?
See, can I first talk about this flooding in Yamuna?
Yes, sure.
To understand it, it's a different context basically.
Okay.
See, presently you are discussing about the drainage plan of the city and its shortcomings right now. But in this case, the flooding has happened in Yamuna and it has just spilled over into the nearby areas like Rajghat, Civil Lines, Red Fort. The city is not flooded. It's the Yamuna that has flooded and spilled over into its near adjacent areas. So, unlike 1978, when the entire city was flooding, the situation is totally different this time, even though the peak level of Yamuna this time is higher than 1978. So, you must be wondering that it's higher than that, yet the city has not flooded. It's only the adjacent areas of Yamuna. This is because, and we must be thankful for this to God, that Delhi, it wasn't raining in Delhi at the same time as it was raining in hinterland in Haryana or in the mountains. So that's why this city is saved this day. So let's understand, it's nothing to do with the drainage plan as of now. What is to be done is to understand that it is just the Yamuna that has flooded, and the other questions of drainage plan and water bodies come later when it's raining in Delhi like cats and dogs, and then we say, oh, why the city flooding? Because we don't have the water bodies, we don't have the drainage plan. Then these questions arise. Fine. But then water bodies have okay, let me complete the context of the river first. The river is flooding abnormally. It's spilling over. Now, one of the reasons for this is encroachment on the floodplains. The floodplains, if you lessen the space where the river flows, then suddenly it will spill over. It will swell because you aren't giving it space. So if you are encroaching, how the government has encroached on the floodplain? See, it has built Rajghat, all the ghats it has built there, and then there are two power stations, Rajghat and Indraprasth power station. Then there's Shastri Park metro station and metro quarters. Then there is Delhi Secretariat. Delhi Secretariat is on the floodplain. Just think of it.
Okay.
Then there is Commonwealth Games Village, Akshardham, Mandir, and then the latest new ring road bypass from Salimgarh Fort to Rajghat. It's absolutely on the floodplains. It's inside the river, and that is bifurcating the river. So if you are lessening the space where the river can move, it will spill over. It will swell. Secondly, other reason why the river has to swell. The roads crossing the river are actually not on the pillars. On the pillars is only 500 meters, some of the roads. Rest of the part of the road is a raised road. It's an embankment, direct embankment stopping the flow of the river. 500 मीटर में तो आपने पिलर के ऊपर रोड उठा दिया, बाकी आपने उसको मिट्टी डाल के उसको अर्थ उठा दी उसकी, तो वहां तो पानी जाएगा नहीं उसके नीचे से. तो एक तरह से आपका you have stopped the river flow. If you are stopping the river flow, it is bound to swell and spill over. So this is another reason. So these are the two basic reasons why the river is swelling, and these are two lie with the government, not with the people. Suddenly, people have built unauthorized colonies. It is government that is allowing them to build. You can't build a brick. You can't put a brick in anywhere in the city without connivance of the government authorities. So it's all this is happening by the government.
Well,
Then-
Mr. Devan Singh, you have made a very good insight. You have said that please distinguish between the city flooding and the river actually spilling over. So, are we saying that our development has crossed into the river completely? I mean, we are in the river's path.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we have done. I just mentioned how many encroachments we have done on the river. Tens of them I have told you just now. And then we have constricted the river into two pushtas. These pushtas exist in Delhi. So if the river is a peak flooding of say 50 years or 100 years, then the pushtas are stopping the river to flow freely. Entire East Delhi, most of the East Delhi is on the floodplain. If you go there, you see the sand on which it is built. It is the young alluvium, which is a floodplain sand. So a lot of construction has been done. So this way, when you have constricted its natural flow, natural space, you aren't allowing the river to meander to find its own space. It is bound to swell and spill. So it is development that is getting into the river, and we are yet to get into that context that drainage plan of the city or the water bodies are become a point of concern. Though they are always a point of concern, because if it rains in the city, then the water bodies act as sponge. They consume the water surplus runoff and don't allow flooding happen in the city. But 1045 water bodies have been noted by Delhi government in its you can see on its site, DGPS site, which is run by Delhi government. Out of these 1045, I see barely any water bodies that has been revived. Maybe 5, 6 or 10 they can say, oh, we have revived them. Basically, revival actually means you allow rainwater to go into the water bodies.
Okay.
And this is not happening anywhere.
Okay.
The community did one effort in Sector 23, Dwarka, there with lot of efforts fighting with the government. Mr. Tyagi also had visited this water body around when Mr. Kapil Mishra was water minister. This water body is now filled with rainwater, so it is helping in flooding, stopping the flood here. But then it's not happening in the rest of city. And at many places, Delhi government, what it's doing is, it is putting treated water into the water bodies, which is like, it's a sin. I mean, their treated water is not at all fit for groundwater recharge. Any water if that is put into a depression or into a water body, it should be like rainwater. It should be clean like rainwater, because it's going to the ground, and if it contaminates our aquifers, it's an irreversible damage. So these are the points how we need to manage our water bodies. But Delhi government or DDA or all these bodies, I mean, it's not one government. It's basically official apathy. All the politicians and the officials, they care a damn for what the water bodies are suffering from. And same is true for drainage pattern. The stormwater drains, they are carrying sewage in them. We are struggling in Dwarka, fighting the government Delhi. Please don't put sewage into the stormwater drain, because we want only rainwater in this drain so that we can fill the water body. We are Delhi fighting with the government. So this is the condition of stormwater drains. Dirty water is entering into them, and they are not well maintained. They have lost their capacity, and at many times they are desilted only on paper, and the silt is kept next to it, and it goes back into the drain. There are no, enforcements so that people don't put waste into it. I mean, it's all in the hand of government. People can't do it themselves. I mean, there's no such like community organization that can do it. Community has no rights to do it. So it's entirely government who's responsible. You really can't put blame on people.
In fact, Nivritti had a point to raise on this. I'll just give to Nivritti. Yes.
Yeah, I had some figures on what Devan Singh ji was telling us. So, see, Yamuna is spread over 9,700 hectares in Delhi, and it flows for 52 kilometers inside Delhi. And then active floodplain area out of 9,700 hectares is 6,295 hectares. And out of this, 500 to 600 hectares are covered by concrete structures which are approved by the government. 500 to 600 hectares. They are covered by the concrete structures which are approved by the government. It includes a temple, bridges, and many things. But apart from this also, there are unauthorized colonies on the floodplains, and floodplains are encroached, and Yamuna this time it is telling you that this is my land. Wherever it is going, towards residential areas, and many places are inundated. So Yamuna is trying to tell you that this is my land, you have to leave this land, which I don't think can happen now because people are already living there. But it is high time that the government, the people should realize that this is enough. Now we should not go further and encroach further, because if you keep on encroaching, this time it has not devastated you, but seeing the trends of climate change, आगे चल के और ज़्यादा होगा, और ज़्यादा हो सकता है, कंडीशन और ज़्यादा ख़राब हो सकती है, और आप बनाते रहेंगे, ख़राब करते रहेंगे, तो एक समय ऐसा भी आ सकता है कि जब आपको वाकई बहुत ज़्यादा पछताना पड़े. So we should treat this as a warning from the Yamuna.
How much of time do we have to actually fix this problem? I think I'll ask, we'll ask Mr. Tyagi about it. Mr. Tyagi, how much of a time do we have before we see a very big disaster coming towards us? How much of time do we have when it comes to fixing the problems of the drains, the issues about how we environmentally plan around the development? How much of time do we have?
I cannot say what, because it is the duty of the government. They should plan the action in a time-bound manner, because next time this situation may not repeat it. But I can add that because natural disaster can happen at any time. You cannot prevent the natural disaster. And I am cautioning one more thing, being a disaster management expert, that this area of floodplain comes under Zone 4. If any seismic or any earthquake comes, the entire these buildings which are situated in the floodplain will go, and there may be massive massacre हो सकता है इसमें, मैसिव डिजास्टर होगा अगर इस जोन 4 में हरी अर्थक्वेक आ गया. नंबर 1. दूसरी चीज मैं एक और कहना चाहूंगा यहाँ कि ये जो सिचुएशन आई है, जो बेड के अंदर इलीगल एनक्रोचमेंट है, this is creating not only the this inundation or this is flood, but it is also causing the pollution in river also, because there is no sewerage system in the colonies which are situated in the bed of the drains. So they are discharging their sewage into the directly into the drain, and also this open defecation is also happening over there. So this is a multiple adverse effect of this encroachment which is in the bed of the drains.
All right.
But I cannot say about what time will take this government to set this right.
But do you think, like, if we continue like this, we don't have much time before, I'm looking at a situation where it starts raining in the city. At the same time, I'm also looking at a situation, it's not only about raining in the city, but also if the Yamuna swells and there is rain at the same time in the upper reaches like in Haryana or Himachal and or Uttarakhand, and then we have the water coming at the same time. So when we have a rain in the city and the water in the catchment areas and the barrage and dams being opened, I think we are not prepared for it then, if this is the situation that we are trying to face. Let's in fact go to Mr. Diwan. Mr. Diwan, do you think we have much time to mitigate this crisis, or we have to act immediately?
The point is what we want to save, what we want to develop. The city is already highly developed, and there are too many unauthorized colonies that have come up, and regularly these are coming up. And not just people are building the colony, the DDA, the city's planning agency, is allowing these colonies to build further by going ahead with some land pooling policy in which they allow 17 lakh flats more to be built. Now just imagine, if you can't treat the current sewage, current waste from this existing population, how will you treat another 17 lakh waste that comes from 17 lakh houses, and that will house around more than 1 crore people or 1.5 crore people. Average, from what I could calculate, 1.5 crore more people are going to be added with this new land pooling scheme. So we are not prepared. We are rather making the situation worse in the city by expanding the city further and further. We don't have enough raw water in lean season. We don't have enough treatment capacity, and you can't keep on building more and more treatment capacity, because you need more land and then you need more power, and the per capita cost increases highly. So, as far as I can see, it's not just that we are not prepared, we are rather inviting more disaster by expanding the city further, whereas we can't handle the current load of the city. So, that's my take.
Well, you can't handle the load of the Nivriti. I mean, I'm looking at both the arguments that are saying, from the environmentalist as well as the person who thinks that our drains should be improved. But Delhi is also growing. You have more areas being added, and the pressure on the city is going to come, because this is in the heart of the Hindi heartland where the greatest economic activities are. So we are, as you were saying about Abadi, or the population part of it, we are going to see more, and this master plan is still delayed. And I think maybe after 10 years we are going to sit again, talk about this again, about the flooding and the development and more floodplains being encroached upon. Where is it that we are going to put that pressure? The government, of course, would say we are still waiting for the master plan, but there's somewhere we have to start a process. Where do you think we should do that?
Look, we cannot deny the fact that the authorities have not acted upon, and they have been really very, very, very careless. And I can tell you by the Ministry of Urban Development in 2013, it had recommended an action plan to make for the flood proofing of cities and towns. It was in 2013. So they recommended an action plan, but since then nothing has happened. So what is this? This is lack of responsibility. They have not acted upon since then, and they had mentioned certain drawbacks that they observed. There was lack of storm water drainage system in cities, one, which needed to be amended. Then two, increased runoff due to concretization of cities. Like I said, in unauthorized colonies, you will find increased concretization, new structures are coming up, and there is no drainage system. Then three, sinking of plinth due to increase in road height.
Okay,
like
that was again
you do the
mentioned by,
of
that was in fact mentioned by Mr. Diwan also, about how the road height is increasing, and then the water flow is reduced.
Yes, water flow is reduced actually when you increase the height of the road. The building which is adjacent to the road, the lower floors comes down.
Okay.
And then water starts getting collected and the area gets flooded. So this happens. And fifth, the road design. It does not, the road design is not proper. Water gets collected on the roads. It is not flowing towards the drains. So there is road design is also faulty. So these are the things that they had mentioned, that the action that the government and the authorities should take, it should include improving all these things. So it was recommended in 2013, nothing happened. Then there was an action plan which was made in 1978. It should have been there in 1998, but it was not there in 1998, and it is not there as yet. It is 2023 now. So we are working on a plan which was made some time ago in 1950s or 60s. So of course there's a negligence on the part of the authorities. So they should accept it, and they should do something to improve this condition.
All right. This, in fact, there's so much that you have said: floodplain encroachment, drain issues, natural river, body, the way
Water
it flows,
bodies.
and water bodies that are naturally there, that was, taking up all this. The disappearance of wetlands also, I think, is something that is there on this. So,
And everything includes government inaction.
government inaction. At the end of the day, we are coming to government inaction, because something from 1978, if that's the master plan that we are following in 2023, and still we face a situation like this. Of course, I think there is a lot when it comes to speaking about the government. So I think at the end of the day, the conclusion that we can in fact come to is that there is complete inaction when it comes on the ground by the government, and that is why today we see this kind of flooding happening in the city. And at the same time, we are also looking at how this apathy could continue further.
अंग्रेजों ने अगर नहीं बनाया होता ड्रेनेज सिस्टम तो क्या होता हमारा?
But ma'am, you will be called anti-national now for making that statement. Well, with that, we have to in fact conclude the way the situation has in fact turned out to be, especially in Delhi. Thanks for the existing drains, something is functioning, but at the same time, we won't have to continue like this further if there's some kind of action taken on the ground. But it seems to be delayed, and that delay is something that we need to address. Thank you, Mr. Tyagi and Mr. Diwan, for joining us on this discussion. Thank you, Nivruti, also for being part of this discussion. Continue with the News 9. On the other side, we have several programs arranged for you, but from now, it's a wrap up from me.
GPT. It can generate codes and human-like responses through text, write stories, and do a lot more.
I work in a newsroom with anchors, researchers and scriptwriters, graphic artists, producers, video editors, camera crew. But does a newsroom really need them today?
All of us have to think about unique and distinctive value addition that cannot be automated or repeated or replaced by a machine.
ChatGPT may kill many companies.
A human has to be in the loop with an ability to control this.
Dark Side of the Boom. Streaming now.
The only way I can protect Ram Setu henceforth is if it is declared as a national heritage monument.
राम से कोई छूटना नहीं चाहता और ये राम सेतु उन्हीं का ही एक प्रत्यक्ष प्रमाण है।
500 crore rupees allocated to demolish Ram Setu. It was BJP government.
And wish our Honorable Chief Minister was actually paying heed to the basic problems of the people in Tamil Nadu rather than going in for something which is just going to make a headline news.
The Rama Setu, a symbol of religious faith for millions. Mythology has it that